Sup everyone, welcome back to another video, and today we are talking about Scaramouche. I've been here on my stream. We've been vibing back and forth with chat. I've been gauging their opinions as well as sharing some of my own. When it comes to Scaramouche's character, does he live up to the potential? Does he live up to the hype? Now, the fact that we're already talking about living up to the hype, you guys may already be like, a little jazz hands going, I don't know, a little shaky. Maybe to some people, he lived up to be everything they had hoped for. However, to most, I'm saying this like on behalf of people, right? I don't know, but to most people, it feels like Scaramouche is falling just a little short of being the character of their dreams. Now, let's not even talk about the fact that this man is now an Anemo character and not an Electro. Yes, we've known about this for some time now, but Hoyoverse's decision to kind of revamp Scaramouche's identity. I mean, truly, they remolded him, not just in his elemental typing. When we first saw Scaramouche, he was this cold-blooded, ruthless enemy who will stop at nothing to get what he wants. Now, fast forward into today, he is a man who is like borderline broken, filled with trauma in his past, and with a new purpose in life. He's like maybe in a way trying to look for redemption, or it's just Hoyoverse trying to force that onto his character. That completely aside, talking about his kit as well. For a character that is incredibly self-centered when it comes to his character design, you would think that he is an incredibly self-centered and aggressive DPS. And when he first was introduced, everybody had hoped for him to be a hyper carry. And while many would still categorize him as a hyper carry, I think one of the things that chat and I had arrived at was it's difficult to push Scaramouche as a hyper carry character, mainly because especially C0 free to play with a C0 Fadozan, this man does feel like he leaves a lot to be desired, especially when it comes to his damage ceiling and DPS potential. One of the main problems when playing Scaramouche is when he's up in the air doing his Scaramouche things, slicing and dicing people, he's oftentimes left unprotected. And as you guys may know, when a character in Genshin is unprotected with no shield, no additional interruption resistance like Raiden Burst, Ito Burst, and whatnot, he or she is left to the devices of the enemies, and oftentimes even small Hilichurls running rampant on the streets is going to send him flying like just way back. And yes, you can recover in his elemental skill state to kind of hover back up and float back up. I mean, animation wise, it looks amazing. I swear I'm looking like sometimes in mid-fight I feel like I'm just a part of like a Marvel superhero movie, minus the fact that I'm doing any damage because I'm just busy hitting twice, getting smacked, hitting twice, getting smacked. Some people was like, well, that's a skill issue, or you're just bad at the game. Maybe I am, but I can tell you, so are a lot of other people playing the game. Hey chat, no offense, don't mean any offense, but for the most part, I don't think many people playing Genshin are top tier gamers. I mean, look at the Game of the Year awards going on right now. Elden Rings has like what, 4%? That's where all the hardcore gamers went, baby. The 4% is all over there. Genshin Impact is not a game where the majority of the players is able to kind of dodge and weave and bob and play reactively to enemies attack sequences. So the lazy way is then run Diona, run a shielder, just make sure he's protected. Sure, that's fine, but then you're also gonna have to end up running a support DPS, right? Who's gonna be your support DPS? You can run Fischl, sure, that's cool, or you can run the more popular option of, maybe a Hydro character to get freeze instead of super conduct, because oftentimes you're gonna be running him with Fadozan. That's 2 slots already taken up, and it's very difficult to justify running him with Fadozan if you're not going to hyper invest into either of them, if not preferably both of them. Getting Fadozan to C2 is going to be incredibly important to have very good uptime on her burst, meaning her burst is going to go from 12 second to 18 second with a 20-second cooldown if you're able to get that Constellation 2 for Fadozan. And this is just a start of some of people's complaint when it comes to playing Scaramouche. And for a character that's released in Genshin 3.3, for a character that's trying to be a new DPS staple. It's difficult to justify that. Well, first and foremost, you have to invest into his dedicated support somewhat. Nobody is saying you need to get her to C6, but C1, C2, ideally C2 is going to be very, very comfortable for you to continue dishing out the mad deeps that you probably had dreamed of when it comes to Scaramouche's potential. Now then, you compare him to some of the other characters, especially Itto right now, who is also having his rerun. Itto C0 with the C0 Goro does not feel as limiting to play as compared to Scaramouche C0 free to play with the C0 Faruzan. The main difference is scaling. C0 Itto has better scaling, stat wise also and skill wise. So Itto is allowed to stay on field being incredibly aggressive as a hyper carry should, while not really requiring the help of his support rosters. For the vast majority of the times, passive stats such as double Geo Resonance is already enough into funneling back some damage into Itto. And yeah, having an Albedo is good and all, but nobody's out here saying you have to run Itto with Albedo. So now we look at Scaramouche. If you just exclude everybody from his team, no assistance, no debuffs, no help, how much damage is Scaramouche really doing? And that should really highlight to you the difference between these two characters' design philosophy. Even though maybe they both are trying to fit into the hyper carry category, one of which is designed to be able to be a standalone character, whereas the other one is very reliant on team synergies. Especially if you look at Scaramouche's first talent, it's built into his kit that he needs to swirl other elements to get additional bonuses, and part of me feels like once he gets those additional bonuses, then he gets enough stats to feel like a 5-star character. I mean, 30% attack, 20% crit rate, like some energy recharge, additional particles. It just feels like to make him work, at the very least, stat-wise, you still need one other character, and you can't choose all of them. Like, it would be different if we're like Nahida, right? Like, he gets all those stats fulfilled, regardless of him swirling the element. Like, hell, why not tune it back down to, I don't know, 15% attack, 10% crit, but instead of forcing us to swirl it, just give us those bonuses as long as we have those characters on the team, because it's already incredibly demanding to run those characters on your teams. And also, when you have to take into consideration that very likely you are having one other slot taken up by Faruzan. So you have Scaramouche, Faruzan, and 2 other characters. And on top of that, you have to swirl the elements. And don't even get me into talking about when he's in the air in his elemental skill state, you cannot switch characters. That is also very annoying. You either have to press E again, cancel his skill, plunge down, then switch character, or you just have to die. Like, I mean, what else can you do? You can wait until his entire elemental skill finishes, but sometimes in the moment you might need to switch to another character to get something done, to proc heal. Maybe you took more damage than anticipated. You need to switch to get heals. Now it's not as easy as just pressing a button to switch. You have to cancel your skill, plunge down, then switch. That is an additional 1 second, maybe even close to 2 seconds, depending on what device you're on, how good you are at reaction play. It's like, I mean, other people put it towards better than I possibly could. There's a man or somebody, according to chat, who was saving up for Scaramouche, right? They call them the Scara Savers. The man got C6 R5 and was crushed by how clunky this character felt to play. And that resonates from C0 to C6, from R1 to R5, from C0 Faruzan likely even to C6 Faruzan, because it's inherently in his kit. There are some subtle quality of life things that I think Scaramouche could really use to just feel like a more complete character, more defined character that can stay on the field and dish out damage regardless of needing his team to facilitate for him. And it makes sense, right? The Scaramouche that we all knew back in the day would have never required assistance. He's the one dishing out the pain, not the one receiving it. I mean, really, if you guys play testing mode Scaramouche, you likely know this as well. Like, how often can you run through the entire test mode without getting hit even once? And this is the same discussion we've had in the past. Every time you're dodging, you're losing DPS. it's true, especially for Scaramouche, because his gauge, when you dodge, it drops down. And a lot of people are like, oh, but you know, he has his second talent where if you dodge, you can get wind blades, but that's a 16% chance to proc. And what if you dodged prematurely? What if there's a lethal hit coming towards you? You don't have the 16% proc, you have to dodge, right? You dodge, sure, good for you. And then suddenly, oh, look, now you get the proc, but guess what? Your gauge is empty now. You're done. Your thing is over. It's just, I mean, there's so much left to be desired for this character. Like, sometimes I feel maybe if we got interruption resistance in his elemental skill state, that would have been a great fix. But then he's also quite squishy. He's quite squishy of a character. So then, okay, you bring a shielder, and the best shielder in the game is kind of locked off because his first talent doesn't have any geo synergies, right? Like, maybe they should have added a line like, oh, if you have a geo on your team, then you get I don't know, additional shield strength or whatever. It's just, there's so many things. It just all culminates to a character that feels very, very difficult to make work, especially if you're a free-to-play C0 Scaramouche player with a C0 Fadozan. Now, I'm gonna get a lot of heat from the comments. I know, well, not a lot. Some people are gonna be like, oh, you know, Scaramouche is fine. Stop hating on him. He's already hated enough, you know, in the story. You should love him. But I feel like anybody who's saying Scaramouche C0 for free-to-plays is an insane, revolutionary DPS character that's like cracked to the teeth is straight up lying. Like, he's not insane. He is an okay character. Sure, C0 free-to-play, with or without C0 Fadozan, he's an okay character. There are ways to build and make him work. But for the vast majority of people who are going to be playing Scaramouche will feel like there's something missing there. And oftentimes you can make this up with maybe slapping your fat wallet on the table, but I think this time round it's something more inherent to his kit design as opposed to just having you know, utility or features locked behind constellations. Let me know what you think. This is pretty much where Chad and I had concluded, so if you guys disagree, maybe next time tune into the live stream and give your input. All right, thank you guys so much for watching, and if you want to get mad, also get mad at the people you guys see on screen right now. Chat, yep. Chat agrees with me, so if you hate me, hate chat as well. We got hundreds of people here for you to gang up on. If you guys have enough counter points to make, we would love to read them down in the comments, and we'll likely respond, right, chat? You guys stand with me, so you guys will be in this video in the comment section, you know, throwing hands with people saying, hey, Scaramouche is insane, S tier character, better than Raiden, better than Xiao, better than Itto. I really thought he was going to be better. I thought, like, I have no problems in admitting that I originally thought Hoyoverse would have learned enough from Xiao, learned enough from designing hyper carries like Raiden, right? Even like Itto. So this should have been a culmination of their game design, but it's a whale bait. Let's just spell it out for what it is, people. It's a huge whale bait. They want you to get C6 Fadozan. They want you to get like C1, C2 Scaramouche. They want you to get his weapon. And because they know there's enough people who are simping for this character that they can get away with it. People aren't really gonna be taking a magnifying glass saying like, oh, what's wrong with him? They're all just like, oh, just get C6 Fadozan, just get his weapon, just get more constellations, and you can have this husbando service you for all eternity. So people, say it like it is. Is it not a whale bait? Okay? That's all I gotta say. Until next time, urge y'all to stay safe. Peace, peace. Bye.